Hi. Today I want to talk to you about reconciliation, which is a difficult thing to do for some people. Um, Someone needs to recommend some really good coffee for me. I haven't found any that I'm extremely attached to, and I love coffee. So, anyway, reconciliation, it's getting through like a tough situation and being able to heal that. And as you know, I talk about things from a Christian standpoint. So it's important to remember that because I'm not going to tell you immoral things to do to reconcile or to handle any situations. There are always going to be the moral things to do. I've learned over the years that there are proper ways and there are improper ways. And the best way to get through anything is to heal and not to hang on to that. So, first of all, let it go. But when you're trying to reconcile a situation, sometimes when you're within that situation, it's difficult to see any into it. Like especially if like you're getting divorced or breaking up with somebody, if a family's splitting up, it seems like that is so hard to do. And if you watch my video about layers of love, it makes it a little bit more understandable. But it's harder to let go of things that are deeper in your heart. Um, when you're having problems in the marriage and you don't want to let that go, being able to find a way through a situation like that you want to heal, that you want to correct, and you want to find a way to fix it. And the best place to start is with common ground. If you find a place where you can remind yourself of why you started that relationship or why it's important to you to heal it, um, then you start from that common ground. You can go back to that point where the situation was good. You can remind yourself and whoever you're trying to reconcile with, you can remind them of what was good and begin to build on that solid foundation that you started with and then move forward. Because if you're starting with that common ground, you're not starting with the anger. You're starting with a good point, a positive place. And that's the best way to begin a reconciliation is to go through it in a positive way rather than a negative way. So you start with a common ground and you build from there and you start to figure out what it is that caused the gap or caused the issue because you can move through things and different points of view and you can come down to the exact issue. And sometimes, and this example really annoys me, people argue over toilet paper, which direction is supposed to go over the roll. Okay, and now it's turning into a paper towel thing. So it's ridiculous to have that hanging on to you. Sometimes those issues that you have in relationships are tiny little things that have just built up over time that you haven't talked about. And if you work from the common ground and you start going through these little things, you learn to communicate with each other. And if you're communicating, then maybe those little things won't come up anymore and you can resolve them easily. Sometimes when we feel like we're at the end of something and we can't see a way to fix it, it's completely fixable. It's just that we're so far into the negative side of it that we can't see any positive to it. And if we just take the time to go back and start from the common ground and move forward again, we can see these tiny little things that have chipped away at us and we can repair them so that at the end of the tough time and you get to the reconciliation, at the end of that, you realize how easily it was fixed. So the next time that something comes up, you can look back again to the common ground, realize that you've already learned to fix things and how you did it, and it builds your relationship to a place where when things happen, it doesn't turn into huge things. You'll be able to look back over these things and realize what you've built and the communication that you've built. And you'll know how to speak to each other. You'll know how to communicate through a tough moment and get to the positive parts. You'll know how to speak to each other, to tell each other when things are wrong. It That's the whole point of hanging on to a relationship. I mean, we talk all the time about how divorce is so horrible. I mean, Christians do. We don't believe in it. We don't believe in divorce, although it does happen to us. But the whole point of staying married your entire life is because you go through these things, you reconcile your differences, you learn to communicate, and you build this structure that stands forever. It's like having two legs. If you're walking through life, I mean, and even when you begin to learn to walk, your legs don't always work properly together. There's even times as an adult that sometimes your legs don't work properly together. But you reconcile that. You bring yourself back to balance. You figure out what the issue is and you fix it so that your legs will work properly. Relationships should be like that. And it doesn't matter if it's a friendship, if it's a boss, if it's a marriage, if it's a child parent or a child. It That's how relationships should work. We should be learning to reconcile issues that we have so that we can strengthen and build those relationships over time. It's never going to be perfect, but learning communication through reconciliation and finding common ground and how to resolve those issues in the proper way will help you to build those relationships stronger. With social media and everything that's going on these days, we're all stuck in our homes with COVID and social distancing, and we're skimming across relationships and we're not resolving issues anymore. And it's important to step back to common ground and remember that we build relationships. We don't just make them. Sometimes they just happen and you start talking, but you still have to build that over time. Every time you're around each other, you're talking to each other and sharing feelings and sharing stories and sharing moments. And that's how you build it. You get to know each other. The same thing happens through reconciliation. You're re-meeting when you find the common ground and you're moving forward with positive steps, sharing feelings, sharing moments, sharing stories, all of that to reconcile the relationship. And the more you do that, and the more you learn to do that with someone, the better and stronger the relationship is going to be. And even if you can't reconcile certain differences and you go through a divorce, if you've gone through these steps and you've tried to take those steps to reconcile the relationship, even the divorce will be more amicable. And that's actually the point of life. We're supposed to enjoy it. We keep wanting to find our happy, and we're not finding it because we're not learning to reconcile differences that we have and to repair relationships or find common ground and build structures into our relationships. We're skimming across life, and that's what we need to stop. So in Jesus' name, I pray for you this week that you realize things that you can reconcile, you find the common ground, and you learn to move forward in positive ways to build strong relationships for your future. And that you find ways to work through things and communicate, and that you learn to find that strength, and that you have a million people in your life that you have that strength with, and you realize that you're not alone in this world. In Jesus' name, I pray that for you this week. And as always, believe and make it so.